Hey everyone, and thank you so much for stopping by and checking out my channel. Today's video is all about everything that's been going on with me pretty much in the last year or so, and why I had to have surgery and all of that not so fun stuff, I must say. So let's just get right into it. I am referring to some notes that I wrote down, so if I'm looking down a few times during the video, y'all know why. But let's just start off with when this all started. So this all started approximately the same time last year. So in 2018, I started, if you kind of average it out, I started to get very sick about once or twice a month, where I was having the worst stomach episodes I've ever had in my life. And I know a lot of this is going to be TMI, just this video is, all about what has been going on with me health-wise. So if you're not interested in too much information stuff, definitely skip past this video. I will not be offended, so don't worry about that. Just skip right past it, go to another video here on my channel. But if you are interested, just stick around and keep watching. So it did start last year. It started in June or July of last year, and I, just like I was mentioning, started to get very sick with stomach episodes is what I started to call them, where I would get the worst cramps that I've ever had in my life, like even worse than period cramps. And I would not only get cramps, but then I would be stuck in the bathroom for literally pretty much hours. I would have a trash can or bucket in front of me, and I would be sitting on the toilet. So not only was I having the worst diarrhea I've ever had in my life, but I was also at the same time, for the majority of it, also throwing up. I had no idea what was causing this. It was happening multiple times. It led me to have to call 911 and the ambulance for the first time in my life, and then the second time because a few months later it ended up happening again and getting so bad that I ended up not knowing what to do and freaking out. And so both times I went to the hospital. They the same hospital, different doctors ended up saying that it was food poisoning, which at the time, that's what we thought it was. We thought that something, that I had eaten in the past 24 hours had made me sick. And then I started to notice a trend that it was happening once or twice a month for several months. And it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And the cramps were bad. Like, the cramps were worse than, every time it happened, the cramps got worse. The pain, the nausea, the diarrhea, the throwing up, everything just got worse. And so it happened, unfortunately, while I was visiting some family, and they kind of gave me an extra little push to go see what was going on. So I went to my doctor, and he had me go through a few tests. I took an abdomen x-ray. I went and had an ultrasound done of my abdomen, and they noticed something was going on. They saw a tumor of sorts, a growth, and so I got referred to a specialist who specializes in the liver, because that's where the growth, that's where the tumor was, and met with the liver specialist. Great doctor, great surgeon, and so met him, and through a series of blood tests, through a series of other tests, I had a couple of MRIs done, which was that was my first experience having an MRI. That was its own little experience, just being in that little, being in that little device, the MRI device. It was a little weird. I've never been claustrophobic in my life, but I got a little bit claustrophobic when I was in the MRI machine. And so skip to a few weeks later when we found out what it was. So it was a tumor, and it was thankfully, which I found out a couple months later, which was benign, thank God, not cancerous. But we did find out what had caused it, and both my regular physician and the liver specialist had told me specifically that this is not a common but not uncommon thing to happen, where birth control unfortunately can sometimes have a bad side effect like this, and can cause a tumor to grow and to happen. My case is one out of like 300,000 or something like that, some ridiculous number. So like it only happens to a very, very small percentage of people. Of course, unfortunately, I had to be one of them, which sucked. But my birth control is what caused my growth to happen and to be there. And that's what was causing the vomiting, the diarrhea, the cramps, everything was this growth. So I was told that it was an estrogen-based growth called an FNH, focal, I'm going to refer to my little notes here, focal nodular hyperplasia. And like I mentioned, it was benign. So of course, the best thing to do was I didn't want to wait to see what happened and if I kept getting sick. So we pretty much immediately at that point, I think it was January, we scheduled out it's January or like early February, we scheduled the surgery for March 5th. And so I, of course, as you all know, I took some time off from my channel and just from kind of life in general, so to speak. I mean, I was still taking care of bills and whatnot, but I was taking a break from everything else. And so I had my surgery. The surgery went great. There was no complications, no nothing, thank God. And so I just want to share some of what was found. So 40% of my liver was removed. My gallbladder was removed at the same time because the surgeon saw that while he was already in there, he could have left it, but at the same time, it was also in the way of getting to the tumor that he had to cut out. And he wanted to obviously cut out that tumor completely. So to get to it, he had to remove the gallbladder. Now, it would have sucked for him to leave it in and then to end up having my gallbladder out in the future for whatever reason. So he figured, while I'm in there, might as well take it out. It saves me having a surgery down the road. So he removed it. I do want to mention that I was told at the beginning that the size of the tumor wasn't too big, that it was about 5 centimeters. Come to find out after the surgery, it was the size of a baseball. Just let me give you a second to think about how big that is. Now, I know it's not the size of a basketball. I know it maybe not the size of, a softball or a soccer ball or anything along those lines, but the size of a baseball. That's how big it was. It grew from 5 centimeters, which is roughly about 2 inches, to the size of a baseball. It was huge. So they took it out. I was in the hospital for 4 days. During the 4 days, my mom came to be with me. She sat with me by my side throughout the entire 4 days. Many times, she would just be on her iPad and just watching me basically while I slept, talking to me when I was in the mood, helping me to go to sleep when I needed it, just, kind of chatting with me or watching TV or just talking about whatever. It was amazing. Her support was absolutely phenomenal. I could not have gone through that 4-day hospital stay without her. I truly couldn't have. I do want to mention some of the things that you want to do that I may have mentioned in like the what's in my hospital bag kind of video. But when you're having a surgery like this, a major surgery, because this was definitely not by any means any kind of a minor surgery, it was definitely a major surgery, you want to make sure to have a support system. Now, whether that be your family, and or your friends or some of your coworkers. I happen to have literally all three. My mom was here for 4 days. My sister came for a day and a half. I had friends checking in on me constantly. I had coworkers also checking in on me constantly, coming to visit me both at the hospital and here at home. I wanted to make sure that I had tons of food prepared, so a couple of friends and coworkers dropped off some food so I wouldn't have to do any cooking. Of course, while my mom was here, I took advantage of her and her cooking skills, and she cooked me a few items that I love, so I wouldn't have to worry about cooking at all. You also want to, of course, when you're not in the mood for cooking during those first few days, or just first few weeks in general, you end up getting a lot of delivery, which I ended up doing quite a bit. So ended up spending a lot of money, but it was worth it in the end because I didn't have to slave over the stove. I didn't have to worry about cooking, about constantly being up. I could just rest as much as I wanted and needed to on the couch and here on my bed, which I did a ton. I slept so much during that first initial week. I would say probably half of the day was spent more or less sleeping. The other half was, of course, spending time with whoever was here, or once my mom and my sister had left, it was just me, and so just watching endless movies and TV shows. And of course, I didn't take advantage of this next thing when I should have, but I learned about it later, literally 2 days later when I didn't really need it so much, was that you can get your groceries delivered by Instacart, there's tons of apps, there's tons of services that do grocery deliveries. I didn't take advantage of that. I kind of wish I had, but I had so much food prepared, and so many people constantly throughout the first couple of weeks offering to bring me food that I really didn't have to worry about grocery delivery. But had I decided to take advantage of it, I definitely would have. So yeah, I could not have gone through the whole ordeal of the major surgery without my parents, without the support of them, of my family. Like I just said, my family, my friends, and my coworkers. I really could not have gone through. I, in a couple of short weeks, was able to get back to driving, which for me, that's a huge thing. I do not give up not being able to drive easily. So not being able to drive for a couple of weeks sucked, because I love driving. It's one of my favorite things to do. And eventually, a few weeks after major surgery, I was given the clear to drive, and I did. And it felt so amazing to get back in the car. I took walks every day. From the day I got home from the hospital to, for several weeks, I literally took a walk every single day. I met with my doctor, of course, for a follow-up. It was around 4 or 5 weeks later, and the progress that I had made, he was absolutely stunned with. At that point in my recovery, what most people can't do until months and months later, I was doing just inside of a month. He also told me that him and his nurse told me that I wouldn't be able to sleep on my stomach where my scar and incision is, for at least probably 6 months. Inside 2 or 3 months, I was back to sleeping on my stomach because that's how I'm comfortable. That's how I begin to usually sleep, is on my stomach. And so sleeping on my back and on my sides was normal, but sleeping on my back, not a fan whatsoever. Just not. I hated it. It was very uncomfortable for me, but I got through it. There were several, those first several weeks, I couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. I kept commenting and, telling everybody how much recovery was going slow, and how I just wanted to get back to being me and, get back to my normal energy level and all of that. And eventually I did. It took, longer than I planned. It took longer than I thought it would, but I have been able to get all of my energy back. I've become, I am now 5 months post-surgery, as of a few days ago, And so I'll be 6 months next month, which I'm really excited for, to celebrate like that 6-month kind of anniversary, which I can't believe next month it'll be 6 months since the surgery. I mean, that's mind-boggling to me. There's definitely some days where it feels like it was the other day, because occasionally I do have incision pain. And then there's some days where it's, you know, it feels like it happened a year or so ago. I am still having some incision pain, which I'm actually going to the doctor tomorrow on Monday to get checked out, because there's just certain areas of the incision that have been sensitive and that have been causing some pain. I do have some amazing miracle cream that I got from my mom and dad when I was with them a few weeks ago, and that's been helping. I know I can always, of course, take ibuprofen or like Motrin or anything to help out with the pain, but I prefer like homeopathic kind of, you know, kind of remedies. So I use the cream more than I will use any medications, any pills of any kind. What else? I do want to mention, right, so of course there was the little steri strips all along. I will try my best to insert pictures of right after surgery with the steri strips and then how it looks now. If I can't get it into this video while I'm editing, I apologize. But just to kind of give you guys an idea, I wasn't planning on doing this, but I'm going to. So as you see, it starts right below the breastbone, and then it goes all the way till right around here. And literally that's how big it is. Apparently at the hospital, it's called a half Mercedes scar in the whole medical world. That kind of scar is called a half Mercedes because it's half of a Mercedes symbol, which I think is pretty cool. So as far as help with the little steri strips, something good to know, and just from the regular adhesives, I had a port put in my neck. I had, you know, ports obviously like put in, I had a port in my neck, and then through IVs, there was tons of, you know, adhesives to take off and whatever. The best thing I can recommend to you guys, and my mom actually told me this, and helped me while she was here, was coconut oil. It is a miracle thing for everything, it seems. And it's amazing for getting off the stickiness of adhesive from your body. So I definitely recommend that if you are trying to get any adhesive off your skin, if you're trying to like get the steri strips from a surgery off, like if they're starting to come off already and you just want to help your body and pull them off, coconut helps. And you also want to make sure to take home a lot of the items at the hospital that you necessarily wouldn't think you might need. So like the throw up basin, gauze, that kind of stuff, because you never know what you're going to need post surgery. And it's always good to have that stuff. And because it's been touched and because it's been open from packages, they would be throwing it out anyway. So you might as well hold on to it for, you know, just for at least 6 months to a year, just in case anything happens with your incision, or just, you know, accidents happen, just injuries in general. It's always good stuff to have on hand. I have it in my bathroom. I have it in all of the stuff in the basin. So if I need to grab any of that stuff, I know exactly where it is. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. That's the story on what's been going on with me, why I took time off for a while from the channel and from just life in general. As you all can see, I am back to my normal energy level. I'm back to doing videos. I'm back to working on my channel, living life in general. Everything's been going great, minus, you know, the small incision pains here and there. But I've been told it is normal from both the doctor and the nurses, that it is normal that because of scar tissue on the inside of my body, that different nerve endings are still waking up and kind of regrowing back, and that's what's causing the pain. So like I said, tomorrow I'm just going in to be on the safe side, just to get it all checked out, make sure everything is cool and good, and if there's anything else that I could be doing as far as, you know, my incision. I do plan on using Mederma. I'm probably going to pick it up sometime in the next week or two so that I can decrease what this, you know, what the scar looks like. I do plan to have, I know this is going to be a question from some people, and especially since you guys saw my tattoo tour a few weeks ago, I might have mentioned this. If you haven't checked out that video, make sure to check it out. I will do my best to link it in the description below. So check out that video. But I do want to mention that I do plan sometime next year, I think probably around the year anniversary, maybe a little bit after, I'm planning as of right now to get a tattoo to kind of cover up and incorporate the scar. Since I already have 5 tattoos already, I have 2 others planned, and one of those planned tattoos being the cover up of the scar and incision site. So yeah, that's really about it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was informative. If you guys have absolutely any questions at all in regards to my tumor, to my surgery, anything you all want to know that I haven't shared in this video, please, please, please make sure in the comments below to let me know, to ask away. Or you can, of course, email me at simplyhappymarlo@gmail.com, and I will be more than happy to answer whatever your questions and concerns are. And thank you so much, all of you, truly, for all of the support when I took time off. And there's been, you know, little breaks here and there in the past few months that have had to happen just due to life and just my health in general. But I appreciate you guys so much, all the love and support that you've shown me in the past 5 months. It has been absolutely incredible. And that's it. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye, guys.